Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issued an emergency temporarily suspending open and concealed carry laws for the next 30 days in Bernalillo County. I take my oath seriously. In reference to concealed carry and open carry, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office will not enforce this segment of the order. The temporary ban challenges the foundations of our Constitution, but most importantly, it is unconstitutional. My oath was to protect the Constitution, and that is what I will do.
Bernalillo County Sheriff John Allen is getting a lot of positive feedback from his press briefing where he says that he's not going to enforce Governor Grisham's gun ban. He calls it unconstitutional, and people have responded with positive things like, Sheriff Allen is correct on his oath, on the Constitution, and on public safety for the citizens and his officers. Much respect to you, Sheriff Allen, for standing alongside your citizens and the Constitution. I have no doubt they will support you in return. Thank you, Sheriff, sir, for upholding your oath to the people and the Constitution. Thank you, Sheriff Allen. You are a true American, true law enforcement officer, true patriot, and an individual with integrity and responsibility, learned intelligence, and common sense. The video itself is very well received with over 110,000 views and over 8,000 likes with only 57 dislikes. But let's go through some of this with a constitutional Declaration of Independence lens.
As we all know, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham issued an emergency temporarily suspending open and concealed carry laws for the next 30 days in Bernalillo County. Let me start by saying I'm holding this press conference and to answer many other people's questions, not only on social media, but directly to my phone. One, this is not grandstanding, nor is this to bring attention to myself. We must always remember not only are we protecting the Second Amendment, but at the same time, we have a lot of violence within our community. Let me be clear. I hold my standards high, and I do not or never will hedge on what is right. And I take my oath seriously.
Now, one would hope this would be true, but let's be honest. If any law enforcement official under his command ever engaged in policing for profit road piracy operations under traffic policy, they've not only hedged on what is right, they did what was absolutely wrong. If they ever enforced unconstitutional drug laws, they've done the opposite of safeguarding life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness. Let's be honest, the law enforcement profession is one of violence, not peace. It's one of enslavement, not freedom.
I take my oath seriously. In reference to concealed carry and open carry, the Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office will not enforce this segment of the order.
Well, of course, you shouldn't enforce any anti-liberty order, but that should go without saying. The real question is, will you protect the people from the New Mexico State Police who do enforce the order? I'll answer the question for you. No, you won't see this sheriff or his deputies arrest a New Mexico State trooper for violating the rights of one of the people. It's just not going to happen.
While I understand the urgency, the temporary ban challenges the foundations of our Constitution, but most importantly, it is unconstitutional. My oath was to protect the Constitution, and that is what I will do. The governor made it clear in her press conference. She knew we as law enforcement did not agree with the order, and as a result, this was solely her decision. Other than this ban being unconstitutional, here are other reasons why I will not enforce the order. One, what many forget, is I have enough violence here in Bernalillo County. I do not want to have political violence towards my deputies or here in Bernalillo County. My job is to keep the peace and to make sure that the citizens of Bernalillo County are safe, and I do not believe that this order will help me do so. I'm a law enforcement professional. This order will not do anything to curb gun violence other than punish law-abiding citizens from their constitutional right to self-defense. Let me give you a personal story. Last week, as I'm sitting here as the sitting sheriff, I get a phone call that my brother also was a victim of gun violence last week that many of you do not know. While he and my nephew were sitting in their car, they were shot at and their vehicle was impacted by numerous rounds. How can I, as a sheriff, tell him to put his firearms away and not be able to protect himself?
Now that's a salient and practical point, but it still doesn't go far enough. The governor is not asking people to put their guns away. She's commanding it. And if people don't comply, well, she's going to bring the violence of the state down upon them.
I have a fact for you. Criminals do not follow the law or a public health order. Never seen it, we will never see criminals follow the law. Once again, this only punishes law-abiding citizens.
This is absolutely true.
What I also want to address is what we're doing on the gun violence here in Bernalillo County and helping in the state of New Mexico. It is quite irritating for me to see how this 30-day ban completely overshadowed the robust conversations that we had with the governor in the office on what we are going to do to curb gun violence and for people to stop being victims. We had arguments, but again, we had solutions. We had an 11-year-old that was senselessly killed, but there are also many other numerous victims of gun violence, not just here in Bernalillo County, but our nation.
Allen goes on to explain how he's going to address the issue of so-called gun violence, which includes leading a task force within his department to focus on crimes with firearms. He also says he's going to work with other law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, to curb gun violence. You know, the same FBI who wasn't so kind to Randy Weaver or the people of Waco.
Sheriff,
Back here.
so back to your original statement. It's a pretty big statement going against what the governor had said. What does this mean for Albuquerque?
What this means for Albuquerque is I think the statement is, and everybody around the nation is going to want me to be very confrontational with the governor, and it's a me against her. It's not. We still work as a team. We don't agree on this at all. This is unconstitutional, and like I said, I uphold my oath seriously.
Now, let's contextualize the seriousness of this statement. What if the founding fathers had said something like, everybody around the country is going to want us to be very confrontational with the king, and it's an us against him? Well, it's not. We still work as a team with the king. We don't agree on this at all. This is a violation against the rights and lives of the people that we serve, but we still work with the king. We take the pledge of our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor seriously as we work with the king. Well, if they had that kind of attitude, there would never have been a revolution and we would still be under British rule. This is how he ends the press briefing.
This ban does nothing to curb gun violence. We're taking away firearms for law-abiding citizens in Bernalillo County, which is extremely violent. How do they protect themselves? That's their constitutional right to bear arms and to be able to defend themselves. That's why I gave a personal story of my brother. How do I call my brother and tell him, you can't carry a firearm, but don't worry, because your brother's the sheriff, he's got you. That's not true. I'm delayed in my response. What does he do when something is rapidly evolving to protect himself?
It would have been nice if there was a journalist somewhere who asked, okay, Sheriff, based on what you've said and the oath that you took to essentially defend the people from tyranny, what will you and your deputies do if the state police start enforcing this tyrannical edict? And how can you continue to work with the governor who, for all intents and purposes, just criminalized your brother and everybody else in Bernalillo County? I mean, if it's unconstitutional, it's tyranny, right? So if the governor came along and penned words of tyranny criminalizing your people, are you going to continue working with the tyrant? What do you think his answer to that would be? Leave your response in the comments below. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. Remember, the price of freedom is now and will always be eternal vigilance. And indifference to this notion is the means by which the people have and will secure their own oppression. I'll see you in the next video.